Dear friends, welcome to another episode in the fantastic military world. In this video, we will talk about a serious alert issued by sources linked to the Ukrainian defense. If Russia launches a new offensive this summer, the front line will inevitably collapse. In a recent article published on the Politico website, sources linked to the Ukrainian defense issued a serious warning, saying that if Russia advances with a new major offensive next European summer, Ukrainian defensive lines will not hold and will collapse, opening the way for new Russian advances in regions like Kharkiv, Kherson, and even Kyiv. The statements, made under anonymity, reveal that the greatest current challenge for Ukraine is related to the lack of ammunition, mainly artillery, with several sources pointing out that Russia, fueled by stocks of ammunition from Iran and North Korea, can fire 7 times more artillery shots compared to Ukraine. But there is also another serious concern for Ukraine: the lack of soldiers for the front line. Regarding the lack of ammunition, it is the culmination of a political crisis that began several months ago in the United States Congress, the highest legislative body in that country, which is under the direct control of the Republicans, the political party heavily influenced by former President and candidate Donald Trump, a man with a strong sympathy for Vladimir Putin, and who, precisely because of this, has been pressuring Republican congressmen to block proposals for laws involving the shipment of weapons and ammunition to Ukraine. At stake is a $61 billion package of weapons and ammunition essential for the Ukrainian defense effort, with the absence of these items coming just when Russia is receiving massive doses of ammunition after agreements signed with Iran and, mainly, with North Korea. Agreements that, according to several sources, involve the supply of millions of artillery ammunition of various calibers. So, while the Republican-controlled U.S. Congress, influenced by Trump, blocks the shipment of ammunition to Ukraine, Russia manages to obtain absurdly high quantities of these items from Iran and North Korea. Regarding the lack of soldiers, the problem is also political, with President Zelensky facing strong internal opposition involving an increase in recruitment numbers. It was only at great cost that Ukraine managed to pass a law reducing the age limit for new recruits from 27 to 25, with the Ukrainian army pressuring the president and the Ukrainian parliament for more mobilizations. Ukraine has a population 3.5 times smaller than Russia's, which means, in practice, that Putin has 3.5 times more soldiers to launch in his invasion and conquest war. This translates into a much heavier workload for the Ukrainian soldier, forced to remain on the front line for much longer, resulting in extreme cases of Ukrainians mobilized at the beginning of the invasion and still deployed in combat, with only a few brief casualties every 4 or 5 months of combat. According to some sources, tens of thousands of Ukrainians need to be demobilized urgently, but for this to happen, others need to take their place, a troop rotation that is being greatly hindered by the lack of more aggressive recruitment laws and processes. In early 2024, President Zelensky said that his country will need at least 500,000 new soldiers throughout the year, a number that many analysts believe can only be achieved if the country launches a strong mobilization and recruitment campaign. And while Ukraine complains about the lack of troops, Putin continues to recruit more soldiers for his invasion, with Shoigu, the Russian defense minister, announcing in late 2023 that only in that year the Russian army had received nearly 500,000 new volunteer recruits, with Shoigu announcing in March of this year the creation of 2 large new combined armies, new units that will require at least another 500,000 soldiers, with several sources saying that Putin will soon launch a new mobilization campaign similar to the one launched in September 2022, aiming to fill the ranks of the newly announced Russian armies. If the blockade of new military aid imposed by Congress, influenced by Trump, is not lifted, and if Ukraine fails to advance with new mobilization and recruitment campaigns, Russia, which, as I mentioned, has increasingly more ammunition and soldiers available, may have enough strength to launch a new major offensive in the summer. An offensive that, if it occurs with the expected force, Ukraine runs the risk of not being able to stop. And if you are not yet subscribed to the channel, subscribe and activate the notification bell to not miss any news, criticisms, ideas, or suggestions. You can leave them in the comments.
Пошли, двойка, пошла! Там хтось є? Давай. Идем дальше, ну блиндаж. Давай, давай.
Чисти, чисти, чисти!
Трой! Постой, постой! Есть! Давай, на, бросай туда гранату!
Не надо, он...
Вырушится! 200?
-1.
Давай, вперед, вперед! Тихо, де крики?
Так.
Бліндажі крики!